My wife, Tiffany, had my car, a white BMW, wrapped in a gaudy fluorescent neon green. She told me, green represents vitality and hope. It looked so good. I looked at the eye-searing color and felt a knot tighten in my chest, but since she liked it, I didn't argue. It wasn't until the dashcam memory card was full, and I pulled the footage to clear it, that the truth came crashing down. A conversation between her and her fitness trainer played out with crystal clarity. The trainer's voice was flippant. "Man, I really want to make your husband look like a total cuckold." My wife laughed, a coquettish sound I knew well. "This a cuckold? Honey, I wrap his car in neon green. I'm basically advertising what a clown he is to the whole city." My world collapsed in that instant. I sat in my study, replaying that recording over and over. Tiffany's giggle and that man's filthy banter echoed in my ears. Finally, I turned off the audio and expressionlessly wiped all playback history from the computer. My memory dragged me back to the day Tiffany brought the car home. She had acted like a queen showing off the spoils of war, pinching my chin and demanding I praise it. "Honey, look, isn't this color trendy? It turns heads 100% of the time." At the time, I just felt embarrassed. On my phone, a buddy had texted me a string of laughing, crying emojis. "Ethan, is this some kind of warning sign?" I had gripped my phone and typed back with a forced smile. "Can't help it. The wife loves it." Thinking about it now, every word felt like a slap across my own face. The bathroom door opened. Tiffany walked out, wrapped in a towel, carrying the scent of humid bath products. She dried her hair, complaining poutily. "Honey, look at the time. You're still staring at that broken computer? Am I not pretty enough for you?" I looked up, forcefully suppressing the nausea churning in my gut, and pulled a stiff smile. "You're beautiful," but a voice inside me screamed. Has this body I cherish so much been appreciated by that trainer too? She swayed her hips as she walked over, leaning down to kiss me. I jerked my head back abruptly, dodging her lips with a quick excuse. "Thirsty." She pouted in dissatisfaction, muttering something about me having no passion. I rushed to the kitchen, filled a glass with ice water, and downed it in one breath. The freezing liquid slid down my throat and into my stomach, but it couldn't extinguish the incinerating rage burning in my chest. I returned to the computer without glancing at her. I opened an encrypted folder. Inside were notarized documents of all my premarital assets, proofs of my company equity, and detailed records of my private investments. These were originally the security I had prepared for our future. Now, they were my ammunition. From a bedroom, Tiffany called out, her voice dripping with seduction. "Ethan, come here. I learned some new yoga positions today." I looked back, catching a glimpse of her through the doorframe. The woman I had loved for 3 years was now just a blurry outline in my eyes. A single thought crystallized in my mind. I was going to make her pay a price for this green car, a price her life couldn't afford. Everything was just beginning. The next morning, when I woke up, Tiffany was still asleep. I didn't make breakfast as usual. Instead, I sat by the bed and watched her quietly. She had fallen asleep with her exquisite makeup still on, her long lashes still holding the smug satisfaction of the night before. Suddenly, I smiled. I leaned down and kissed her lightly on the forehead. Disturbed, she grunted in annoyance, rolled over, and went back to sleep. I got up, went to the kitchen, and prepared a breakfast more lavish than any I had made before. "Babe, time to get up." I brought the tray to the bedside, my voice so gentle it could drip water. Tiffany opened her eyes, saw the breakfast, and her sleepy face immediately bloomed with surprise. "Wow, Ethan, why are you being so good to me today?" I smiled and tapped her nose. "When am I not good to you?" I watched her eat the food I made, bite by bite, while my heart remained frozen. "By the way, let me drive you to the gym today," I suggested, sounding casual. Her eyes went wide. "Really? I thought you hated driving that car." After looking at it for a while, "I think it actually has a lot of energy," I said calmly. "Your taste is never wrong." She immediately lifted her chin, proud as a peacock. "Obviously. Look who you're talking to." On the drive to the gym, the blinding neon green made my eyes ache. Tiffany, however, excitedly rolled down the window, soaking in the stares from pedestrians. She thought it was envy. When we arrived at the gym, I spotted the trainer, Jax, immediately. He was leaning against a motorcycle, muscles bulging, smiling like a ray of sunshine, waiting for her. When Tiffany got out of the car, they exchanged a look of unspoken understanding. The familiarity and intimacy in that glance stung more than any words could. I didn't drive away immediately. I parked around the corner across the street and pulled out a burner phone I had prepared. I logged into Tiffany's iCloud. The password was my birthday. How ironic. Her chat history with Jax popped up, line after line, far more explicit and obscene than the dashcam audio. Your husband is so nice, driving you to get laid. Him? He's a deadlock. He wouldn't know passion if it hit him. Not like you, Jax. Baby, I learned a few new positions for tonight. Guaranteed to make you forget your wooden husband. You're terrible. Expressionless, I screenshotted every chat log, zipped the files, encrypted them, and saved them. Then, I opened my banking app and transferred $10,000 to Tiffany. Memo. Gym work is hard, honey. Buy yourself something nice. Almost instantly, her voice message came through, her tone sugary sweet. Hubby, you're the best. Love you so much. Mwah. A minute later, her Instagram story updated. A screenshot of the transfer with the caption, married the right man. Every day is Valentine's Day. Below it, her girlfriends lined up in the comments. So jealous, goals, envy. Her mother quickly liked the post too. I looked at that facade of prosperity and let out a cold laugh. Good. Let her fly a little higher. I dialed a number. Mr. Vance, it's me. Regarding the divorce asset division, I need a plan that is most favorable to me. Yes, most favorable. Hanging up, I started the engine. That piercing green color actually looked much more pleasing to my eyes now. It was going to be the most magnificent backdrop for her free fall. Honey, it's our 3rd anniversary. That evening, I hugged Tiffany from behind while she was applying a face mask, resting my chin on her shoulder. I want to give you a surprise. Tiffany looked at me in the mirror, her eyes full of anticipation. What surprise? I want to throw a grand anniversary party for you. Invite all your friends and family. Let everyone see just how happy my wife is. My voice was tender and lingering. Tiffany was instantly moved. She turned around and hugged me excitedly. Ethan, you never talk like this. I was too dull before. I ignored your feelings. I stroked her hair. Not anymore. She was flattered and nodded furiously. Okay. I'll call all the girls right now. Let them see. She excitedly pulled out her phone and started bragging in her group chats. I watched her impatience, the curve of my lips growing colder. In her name, I booked the ballroom at the Grand Meridian, the most luxurious hotel in the city. When I showed her the reservation, she was a mess of emotions, wrapping her arms around my neck and planting a hard kiss on my face. Ethan, I used to think you were boring, but now I know you're so romantic. I love you to death. As long as you like it. I held her, feeling the warmth of her body, while my heart was a block of ice. While hugging her, I used my other hand to send an anonymous text to that trainer, Jax. Want to see a good show? Saturday night, 7 p.m., Grand Meridian Ballroom. Tiffany Miller's bachelorette farewell party. I had found out that Tiffany used the $10,000 I sent her to buy Jax an expensive Rolex. I screenshotted that transaction record too. The day before the party, Tiffany shyly told me she was going to a girlfriend's house for a full body spa treatment to prepare, so she wouldn't be home that night. I have to be the most beautiful bride tomorrow, she said, blinking her eyes. I smiled and nodded. Okay, drive safe, honey. Make a beautiful entrance tomorrow. After she left, I opened the tracking app on my phone. The red dot representing her didn't go to any spa. It went straight to Jax's apartment building. And it didn't move all night. I didn't expose her. I just went alone to the fully decorated ballroom. On the huge LED screen in the center of the stage, our sweet wedding photos were looping. In the pictures, I was smiling like an idiot, my heart and eyes filled only with her. I walked to the control console and gently inserted a black USB drive into the computer. Inside the drive were the dashcam recordings, the screenshots of her chats with Jax, the transfer record for the Rolex, and the surveillance footage of her entering Jax's apartment last night. I looked at my smiling self on the screen and whispered softly, goodbye. Tomorrow, this place would be her courtroom, and I was the sole judge. On the day of the banquet, Tiffany was radiant in the high-end white couture gown I had spent a fortune on. She looked like a proud swan, holding my arm, weaving through the guests, accepting everyone's blessings and envy. Her parents, my soon-to-be ex-in-laws, were flushed with pride, praising their daughter's marriage and their capable son-in-law to anyone who would listen. Our Tiff, she's just blessed. Ethan treats her like gold. You can't say a word against him. Exactly. Look at this scene. It's grander than a celebrity wedding. Listening to the flattery, Tiffany lifted her chin even higher, looking at me with a gaze that held a trace of charitable satisfaction. Finally, it was time for the speeches. I held her hand and led her onto the stage under everyone's gaze. The spotlight hit us, and Tiffany looked like she might faint from happiness. I picked up the microphone. I didn't say any words of thanks. I just looked at her calmly, with a hint of a gentle smile. Honey, do you like this surprise I gave you? Tiffany nodded shyly, leaning tight against me, thinking I meant this luxurious party. I love it. Ethan, I love it so much. A wave of good-natured laughter and applause erupted from the audience. I smiled, then made a subtle hand signal to the lighting technician backstage. Instantly, the background music cut out. The massive screen in the center of the stage, which had been looping our wedding photos, went pitch black. The room fell silent. Everyone looked at me in confusion. Tiffany was puzzled too. She whispered, "Ethan, what's wrong?" I didn't answer her. A second later, a man's flippant voice rang out clearly through the banquet hall's top-tier surround sound system. "Man, I really want to make your husband look like a total cuckold." The voice was exceptionally piercing in the dead silence of the hall. Everyone froze. Immediately after, a woman's voice, seductive to the bone, carrying a hint of flirtatious complaint, rang out. "Just a cuckold? Honey, I wrapped his car in neon green. I'm basically advertising what a clown he is." Boom! The room exploded. Everyone present recognized that voice. It was today's protagonist, the beautiful bride, Tiffany Miller. The blood drained from Tiffany's face in an instant. She looked at me in terror, her body starting to tremble uncontrollably. "No, it's not, Ethan." I ignored her defense. The pitch-black screen suddenly lit up. It began frantically scrolling through the explicit, obscene chat logs between her and Jax. "Baby, is your husband useless in bed? He's a deadlog. 3 minutes and done. Nowhere near as good as you." Screenshot after screenshot slammed into everyone's hearts like heavy hammers. Next came the surveillance footage of her entering Jax's apartment. Time, location, crystal clear. Then the screenshot of the transfer for the Rolex. $10,000, down to the cent. Tiffany's parents went from red to white, then white to green, swaying on their feet as if they might collapse. The guests were dumbfounded. The whispers turned into undisguised discussion and mockery. I raised a microphone. My voice wasn't loud, but it reached every corner of the ballroom. "Tiffany, this is my 3rd anniversary gift to you." Looking at her paper-white face, I pulled 2 documents from my pocket. "All right, and this." I took the signed divorce agreement and a harshly worded lawyer's letter and threw them hard in her face. The papers scattered, drifting down onto her pure white gown like a belated funeral. Her mask was torn to shreds by my own hands. "You animal." My father-in-law reacted first, roaring as he charged at me, raising his hand to strike. I was prepared. 2 large security guards immediately stepped forward, pinning him down firmly. "Let go of me. I'm going to kill this ungrateful wolf." My mother-in-law screamed along with him, turning the scene into chaos. Tiffany finally snapped out of her extreme shock. She lunged at me like a madwoman, her fingernails aiming for my face. "Ethan, why are you doing this to me? You ruined me." I easily sidestepped, watching her face twisted by madness. I only felt it was ridiculous. "Stop acting, Tiffany," I said coldly. "Your girlfriends are watching. Aren't you embarrassed?" As soon as the words left my mouth, she subconsciously looked back. Sure enough, the sisters who had been fawning over her a second ago were now dodging her gaze like she was a plague. Some were already sneaking toward the exit. In a corner of the crowd, I saw the man named Jax. He had obviously been tricked into coming by the text about the bachelorette party. Seeing the scene, his face was pale. He retreated silently into the shadows, pulling out his phone and typing furiously. I knew he was blocking Tiffany. Tiffany's last shred of hope shattered. She collapsed to the floor, wailing loudly. I walked up to her and looked down from above. "I forgot to tell you a few things. First, the marital home we live in was bought by me, fully paid before the marriage. Only my name is on the deed. Second, that green BMW is also in my personal name. Oh, and the supplementary credit card you use? I froze it 5 minutes ago. Third, and most importantly," I paused, admiring her increasingly despairing expression. "Those so-called luxury bags, jewelry, and clothes you have, most of them are rentals I purchased through my company account. The lease contracts are in your name. Tomorrow, the rental company will come to collect them. If you can't produce them, they will sue you directly." Tiffany jerked her head up, looking at me in disbelief. She was finally panicked, thoroughly panicked. She abandoned all dignity, crawled over, and hugged my leg, crying with snot and tears running down her face. "Hubby, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I was just playing with him. The one I love is you. Please forgive me this one time, okay? Please, Ethan, let's go home. Let's live a good life." I kicked her hand away in disgust, like kicking something filthy. "Is your love worth a green car?" Ignoring her crying and begging, I turned around and walked straight out of the banquet hall that had turned into a farce under the gaze of everyone. When I got into another car parked at the hotel entrance, a low-profile Audi A8 she had never seen before, I saw through the rearview mirror that the fluorescent green BMW was being slowly towed away by a tow truck. I was going to restore it to its original white. As for Tiffany, wearing that expensive custom gown, she was mercilessly escorted out by the hotel security. She stood wretchedly by the roadside, like discarded trash. The wind blew the hem of her skirt. She looked so pitiful. But inside, I felt not a ripple of emotion. She had nothing left, and she had brought it all on herself. Tiffany's world collapsed. After losing everything, her life spiraled downward at a speed she never imagined. The first thing she did was look for Jax. She still held onto a sliver of fantasy that the man who had infinite passion with her would be her lifeline. The result? Jax didn't even let her in the door. Through the security gate, he mocked her in a cold tone she had never heard before. "Tiffany, are you brain damaged? I was just playing around with you, and you took it seriously? Your husband leaked the video, and you still come to me? Don't ruin my business. Get lost." After that, there was silence from inside. Ruthlessly abandoned by Jax, she had to go back to her parents' home. What greeted her wasn't comfort, but scolding more vicious than an enemy's. "You have the nerve to come back. You've completely humiliated our family." Her mother pointed at her nose and cursed. "You threw away such a golden ticket of a husband to fool around with a fitness trainer. Is your heart clogged with lard?" Her father didn't say a word. He just threw her luggage out of the house. "Get out. I don't have a daughter like you." She tried to stay with her former best friends. Those who used to call her Tiffany Baby either didn't pick up or brushed her off with cold sarcasm. "Oh, bad timing. My husband is home tonight. It's not convenient." "Tiffany, it's not that I don't want to help, but, with your reputation right now." Without my unlimited credit card and without the steady stream of living expenses, she didn't even have enough money for a hotel. Finally, she had to rent the cheapest partitioned room in an urban village. The room was small and damp. The sound of the couple next door fighting and the smell of mixed cooking in the hallway drove her to the brink of a breakdown. She started calling me and texting me frantically. At first, it was cursing. "Ethan, you devil. You'll die a horrible death." Then it was questioning. 3 years of feelings. How can you be so cruel? Finally, it turned into begging. "Hubby, I really know I was wrong. Give me one more chance, okay? I don't want anything else. I just want you back." I didn't answer a single call. I didn't reply to a single text. I directly blocked all her new contact numbers. In that dark, damp partitioned room, she finally began to miss my kindness. She missed the large allowance that arrived on time every month, missed how I would leave a light on and warm soup for her no matter how late I got home, missed my unconditional tolerance for all her tantrums. She tasted the bitterness of life for the first time. She began to regret. But she didn't regret the betrayal. She regretted being stupid enough to get caught. She started acting like a detective, asking around about me. Soon, she learned that not only was I unaffected by the divorce, but thanks to the success of a core project, I had been promoted with a raise, becoming the youngest chief technology officer in the company. The intense disparity gnawed at her heart like a viper. Jealousy, regret, and unwillingness drove her completely mad. She decided she would win me back at any cost. In her eyes, I was still that wooden log who loved her to the bone and couldn't live without her. As long as she crooked her finger, I would turn back. Tiffany began her self-righteous campaign to win back the husband. She dressed up in the innocent style I used to like, white dress, long straight hair, no makeup, and appeared downstairs in my office. She wanted to recreate the scene of our first meeting. Unfortunately, I was no longer that green programmer. I walked out of the building and saw her at a glance. My steps didn't pause for a second. My eyes didn't even linger on her, and I walked straight past her. She froze, probably not expecting me to be so cold. She chased after me and grabbed my arm. "Ethan, let's talk." Her voice was thick with tears, pitiful and moving. I shook off her hand with force, making her stumble. "Security," I shouted coldly, and 2 guards immediately ran over to block her. As she was being held back, she screamed unwillingly, "Ethan, you can't treat me like this." I got in my car without looking back. From that day on, she started a series of clumsy and crazy pursuit behaviors. She calculated the time I got off work every day and brought me so-called love bento boxes. Every time, I took it and, right in front of her, threw it unopened into the nearest trash can. Mimicking the past, she used new phone numbers to send me messages asking about my well-being. "Hubby, it's getting cold. Wear more clothes. Remember to eat, even if work is busy." I deleted them as I saw them, too lazy to even lift an eyelid. One time, it suddenly started pouring rain. She deliberately didn't bring an umbrella and stood under the eaves of my office entrance, letting the rain soak her clothes and hair, turning herself into a drowned rat. She thought if I saw her pitiful state, my heart would soften. I did see it. I drove the BMW, which had been restored to pure white, and sped past her. The muddy water kicked up by the wheels formed a precise arc, splashing all over her white dress. The white dress instantly became filthy. She finally broke, watching my taillights disappear into the distance. She couldn't hold it up anymore. She sat on the ground and wailed loudly in front of the passers-by. In the rearview mirror, I watched her wretched figure get smaller and smaller until it vanished. There was no pleasure in my heart, only a dead silence. The next day, I sold the white BMW. I didn't want to see anything associated with her. Using the money from the car, plus my own savings, I bought a black Porsche 911 in cash. I wanted to completely erase the last trace of her. But I didn't expect that my decisiveness would give her new hope. She thought I changed the car because I still cared. The follow-up matters of the divorce were simpler than I imagined. Because I was sufficiently prepared, Tiffany walked away with almost nothing. The person handling these legal issues was a young female lawyer introduced to me by Mr. Vance, Sarah Quinn. Sarah was just like her name, crisp, capable, and smart. The first time we met, after reviewing all the evidence I prepared, she said only one thing. "Mr. Cole, you handled this beautifully. Villains deserve thunderous methods." There was no sympathy in her eyes, only appreciation. Later, because a key technical patent of the company needed legal protection, I sought her out again. We had more cooperation and contact. I found that we clicked. She understood my coding world. I admired her logical thinking. We talked from patent law to AI, from market prospects to life philosophy. Being with her, I felt an unprecedented ease and compatibility. To thank her for her help, I invited her to dinner. We chose a quiet Western restaurant. Just as we were having a great conversation, an uninvited guest appeared. Tiffany had found out the news from somewhere and rushed over like a lunatic. She pointed at Sarah's nose and shrieked curses. "You vixen, homewrecker, hooking up with my husband, right after the divorce. Have you no shame?" The eyes of everyone in the restaurant focused on us. Sarah's face darkened. Before I could speak, she had calmly taken out her phone, turned on the video function, and aimed it at Tiffany. "Ms. Miller, please watch your language," Sarah said, her voice not loud but exceptionally clear. "According to the law, your behavior constitutes public slander. I reserve the right to pursue legal action against you." Tiffany was stunned by this move. Just then, I stood up and blocked Sarah. I looked at Tiffany's face, twisted with jealousy, and squeezed out 2 words through my teeth. "Get out." This was the first time I had spoken to her since the banquet. These words were like ice-tempered knives stabbing into her heart. She trembled all over, her eyes full of despair and disbelief. I didn't look at her again. I took Sarah's hand and said, "Let's go." Sarah nodded, put away her phone, and left the restaurant with me. Tiffany stood there blankly, watching our retreating backs. She finally realized I wasn't playing hard to get. I really, truly didn't want her anymore. And I had started a new life. A new life where the female lead was no longer her. This realization caused her a panic more fatal than poverty or destitution. Tiffany's madness was becoming unbearable. Just as I was preparing to file for a restraining order, an unexpected person came knocking. My former mother-in-law. She charged directly to my company's front desk, demanding to see me by name, refusing to leave until she did. I had the secretary show her to the conference room. As soon as she entered, she put away the shrewish face she had on earlier and switched to a heartbroken expression. She started playing the emotional card. "Ethan, look at you, you've lost weight." She tried to take my hand, but I dodged without expression. Tiffany knows she was wrong. She cries at home every day, can't even eat. "Ethan, for the sake of your dad and me, for my sake, just forgive her this once." Young people, who doesn't make mistakes? Couples fight at the head of the bed and make up at the foot. You can't be this heartless and drive her to a dead end. She spoke with such sincerity, as if I were the unforgivable sinner. I smiled. I looked at her and asked calmly, "Ma'am, do you remember what you said to me back then?" My ex-mother-in-law paused. What did I say? You don't remember?" I took out my phone and tapped an audio file. "No problem. Let me help you recall." I pressed play. From the phone, her conversation with Tiffany rang out clearly. I had recorded this by accident once, thinking she was just a gold digger, but I didn't expect it to be useful today. In the recording, her voice was acid and mean. "Tiffany, you have to be smart. Men go bad when they have money. You have to keep the money firmly in your own hands. Ethan is just a piece of wood, staring at a computer all day. How is he good enough for you? So what if you have some fun on the side? As long as he doesn't find out. Mom is telling you, with this kind of man, you can't be too honest. Spend the money you need to spend. Dress yourself up beautifully, so he has face. That's how you keep them on a leash. The recording echoed in the quiet conference room. The ex-mother-in-law's face changed color at visible speed, from white to red, then from red to a sickly purple. Finally, it became the exact same shade as that neon green BMW. She opened her mouth, but not a word came out. I turned off the recording and looked at her. Ma'am, for Tiffany becoming who she is today, her good mother deserved the credit. I stood up, walked in front of her, and lowered my voice. If you or your family come to harass me again, I can't guarantee this recording won't appear in your extended family group chat or your HOA community group. She shuddered, looking at me as if she'd seen a ghost. She scuttled away, not daring to utter a single threat. I knew she wouldn't dare mention the word forgive to me again. And Tiffany had lost her last line of defense. She was pushed to true desperation. I thought her mother's defeat would make Tiffany give up completely, but I underestimated her shamelessness and madness. Cornered, she came up with the most vicious and, in her opinion, most fatal move. She found me again, clutching an ultrasound printout. This time, she didn't ambush me at the office. She came straight to my apartment. I opened the door to see her haggard face and that glaring piece of paper in her hand. Her eyes were red, tears swimming in them, her voice hoarse and fragile. Etan, I'm pregnant. She held the ultrasound up to my face. It's yours. The timing was right before we divorced. She watched my reaction carefully, her eyes holding a desperate, all-in gamble of hope. She thought I would be shocked, angry, or at a loss. She thought a child was enough leverage to force me into remarriage. However, I just calmly took the ultrasound image. I didn't even look at the content. My eyes held no ripple of emotion. Okay, I said just one word. Tiffany froze. She hadn't expected this reaction at all. I looked at her and continued calmly. Since it's my child, give birth to it. When the baby is born, we'll do a DNA test. Her face changed instantly. I pretended not to notice and kept talking. However, I've also consulted Sarah, my lawyer. Infidelity within marriage. If the test shows this child isn't mine, I can sue you for fraud. That's a criminal offense. If the child is mine, I will only pay child support according to the law until they are 18. As for remarrying, that is absolutely impossible. With every sentence, Tiffany's face grew paler. I took a step forward, staring into her eyes. Or we can go to the hospital right now and do another checkup. I pointed to the paper in her hand. This printout, it's fake, isn't it? Tiffany's eyes began to dart frantically. Her knuckles turned white from gripping the paper too hard. All her calculations had been effortlessly seen through. Her final gamble had turned into a laughable farce. Humiliated and angry, she became hysterical. Ethan, you have no heart. How can you do this to me? It's your child. She started performing, weeping bitterly, as if I were a heartless man abandoning his wife and child. I watched her clumsy acting, feeling it was both laughable and pathetic. One lie after another. When would she wake up? Maybe she never would. The baby is yours. It's yours. Tiffany was still making her final struggle, clutching the pregnancy straw for dear life. I couldn't be bothered to waste more breath on her. I called Sarah. Half an hour later, Sarah appeared at my apartment door. She didn't speak to me, but walked straight toward the still-crying Tiffany. Ms. Miller, we meet again. Sarah's tone was as cool as ice. She pulled a few photos from her briefcase and slapped them down in front of Tiffany. In the photos were Tiffany and Jax. The background was a cheap motel. The pictures were crystal clear, Tiffany holding Jax's arm, the two of them walking intimately into the motel entrance. The timestamp in the corner showed it was 3 days ago, exactly 1 day after she came to me with the fake ultrasound. Sarah's voice dripped with sarcasm. Ms. Miller, you're pregnant with my client's child, yet you're so persistent in going to exercise with another man. Is that for prenatal education? Looking at those photos, Tiffany looked like her bones had been removed. She slumped instantly to the floor. All her lies, all her disguises, were pulverized in the face of ironclad evidence. Sarah didn't stop. Also, let me tell you one more thing. Your Mr. Jax, due to maintaining improper relationships with multiple female clients, has seriously violated company regulations and has been officially fired by his gym's corporate headquarters. Furthermore, the legal department has filed a lawsuit against him to recover damages for reputation and financial loss. All right, I just anonymously sent some of his glory days records to the gym's tip line. I added, I had also heard that the husbands of several other women he had scammed had found him and beaten him until he was hospitalized. Tiffany broke down completely. Her last chip was gone. Her backup plan was destroyed. She lay on the cold floor, wailing. This time, There was no calculation in her crying, no performance, just pure, gut-wrenching despair. She finally knelt on the ground, not for money, not for remarriage. She lifted her head, her face covered in tear tracks, revealing genuine repentance for the first time. She looked at me and cried, "I was wrong. Ethan, I was really wrong. I regret it. I regret painting the car green. I regret fighting with you. I regret not cherishing you. Can we start over? Please. Let's go back to how it was." I slowly squatted down, looking levelly into her eyes which had lost all their light. I told her clearly, word by word, "Tiffany, from the day you wrapped that car in green, you lit the match on this marriage. Now you're just standing in the ashes, and you were the one who burned it down." With that, I stood up and closed the door. I shut her crying and her regret out of my world forever. 1 year later, the company I worked for successfully went public on the NASDAQ. As a core technical shareholder, I achieved financial freedom overnight. My relationship with Sarah came naturally. She was independent, confident, and brilliant. We supported each other and admired each other. We were lovers, and even more so, the most compatible partners. We went to a car show together. In the showroom, the latest Porsche sports car shone under the lights. Sarah pointed to one of them and said, "That color is beautiful." It was a deep, steady color called agate gray, like a starry sky. I placed the order on the spot. "It's for you," I told her. She smiled and punched me lightly. "I don't want it. We'll drive it together." At a friend's gathering, someone accidentally mentioned Tiffany. Rumor had it she went back to her hometown and, under her family's arrangement, married an ordinary local man. Money was tight, and she was often heard complaining that her husband was useless and life was too boring. The peacock that once dazzled had finally broken its wings and fallen back to the dirt. A friend, having had a bit to drink, draped his arm around my shoulder and asked carefully, "Honestly, Ethan, do you have even a tiny bit of regret?" I raised my wine glass, exchanging a smile with Sarah beside me. The red wine rippled with warm light. I took a sip, then looked at my friend and answered seriously, "I only regret that I didn't replace that green car sooner." Sunlight spilled in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, warm and bright. Sarah leaned gently on my shoulder, and together we looked out at the bustling city. My world no longer had that piercing fluorescent green. There was only the agate gray that symbolized stability, reason, and the future. The price of betrayal is eternal unforgiveness, and my new life was the best revenge against that unbearable past. Story complete.